Can you see that okay, Frank?
Yes, I can.
All right. So my name is Nick Winfrey. I am the president and CPO of Maui United Way. Today, I just wanted to kind of chat a little bit about, the nonprofit sector as a whole, as well as, discussing how you can step into a role in the nonprofit sector, how it kind of compares to the for-profit sector, as well as, what are some differences that are out there as well. So I will just jump right into this. I wanted to chat a little bit about what Maui United Way is first. If you're not aware, we are actually celebrating our 75th anniversary this year, so it's exciting times. We actually started out as a community chest right after World War II. We are a broader network of organizations. There's one on Oahu, the Big Island, Kauai, as well as throughout the US and the world, to where we work together hand in hand, but we are actually our own separate entities. So where there might be some overlap with Aloha United Way, where we utilize a 2-on-1 resource, we are a completely separate organization. All the resources that come to us, it's about 99% of them, stay here in Maui Nui. We are a 501c3. What that means is basically if you want to make a tax-deductible donation, you can. So you can support Maui United Way with dollars and actually write that off at the end of the year as a benefit to you as well as the community. So it's a way to provide resources to the social services. Every year we mobilize hundreds of volunteers to assist in raising funds and supporting our community needs. Basically, the community decides where our funds go. What are the best organizations out there that have the best return on investment, so to speak. Currently, we're supporting 39 partner agencies in our 3 pillars, which is education, income, and health. We've actually updated our process this year a little bit to allow it to be a bit easier for the nonprofit community to do the work that they do and commit 3 years to those individuals. So, all they had to do was apply once. The community said, yes, this work is fantastic. And we decided to invest in them 3 years to the tune of about $400,000 a year, which is a lot of revenue to be investing, but there's a lot of trust there as well. Basically, like I said, we allocate to programmatic funding to Maui's most vital needs. Currently, we have updated our funding and actually increased what we've been supporting due to the current COVID crisis. We supply PPE to the nonprofit community. We have actually been operating a rental and utility assistance program with one of our partners, Catholic Charities, since April. And then we've also disseminated close to $200,000 for a wide variety of ranges, from food security to purchasing tablets for students that needed them in East Maui. One of the great things that we do is we actually monitor this funding as well. If you are a Maui United Way partner, individuals and community members know that those agencies, those nonprofits, and those programs are really doing the best work. We actually get qualitative and quantitative data back on a biannual basis to where we can evaluate to see, is there better ways to utilize these resources? Are we seeing trends in certain areas of need? Do we need to pivot? The word of the crisis right now is pivot. We also facilitate in-kind donations to community through our holiday toy drive, as well as our school supply drive, which did actually run this year, and we just had to once again pivot a little bit. In addition to all of these, we actually do quite a few other things. One of those is fiscal sponsorship. So we actually work with programs that are not quite, have all of their paperwork in to be a 501c3 nonprofit, but are still doing amazing work. Some of those include schools that don't necessarily have a PTA. We're actually doing an AVID college preparatory program with King Kaulike School, as well as Lokalani Intermediate. We've actually also just launched a fantastic new partnership with Hawaii Taro Farms LLC. Basically, it's over 300 acres in West Maui, looking at how we can kind of create a social enterprise and food secure Maui that's really been sparked by the crisis that's taking place right now. A little bit about me. So my name is Nicholas Winfrey. You guys can just call me Nick. I served in the U.S. Marines after I graduated high school back in 1999. After that, I went to college at Arizona State University, where I got a BA in Human Communications. My whole family, it's business development. That's just how it goes. I actually went into the advertising field for a little bit. Absolutely hated it. Bartended for a few years, kind of found my way. met my wife, which was really kind of the saving grace for it all, that allowed me to kind of follow my passions. And I quit everything and took a job at $9 an hour working at the local Humane Society. I realized that, yeah, you might not be getting paid enough, but you're doing some really impactful work. So I have been in the nonprofit sector from the Humane Society in California to Red Cross in Australia to now Maui United Way here. The roles that I've played in those three organizations range from, adoption counselor, to marketing, to chief operations officer, to philanthropy manager, where I ran all of the major donor programs for Australia and the Pacific Islands, to now the pinnacle is being the chief professional officer and executive director here at Maui United Way. A little statistic, excuse me, that I wanted to touch on was specifically how many jobs out there are actually nonprofit. A lot of people don't realize that, a lot of hospitals are actually considered nonprofits. If you're looking at the overall private sector within the US, over 10%, and mind you, these statistics are fairly old, but 10% are actually nonprofit jobs. They range from just about everything that you can think of. There's going to be a role within the nonprofit sector. Obviously, you see that DC has the highest rate. There's a lot of social services, a lot of worldwide and national organizations that are based there. Maui United Way is one of those. One thing I did want to talk about a little bit, because we're kind of seeing this in the industry right now, is emotional labor and burnout. I probably should have had this way down the list on the slides, but I kind of put this together in haste, so I do apologize. But empathy is something that we all have. For individuals working in the nonprofit sector, there's a lot of passion, a lot of care. We take things very personally. When you're in a crisis like we're in right now, it's really important, and I'm just stating this as a fact, that if you do see someone in distress, reach out, ask them, are you okay? See if they need some support. Our team, we really do pride ourselves on taking care of each other and taking care of ourselves. And mental health days, are just as important as vacation days to us. So keep an eye out right now. Make sure that, whether it's your neighbors that are out of work, your neighbors that are working and frontline workers, your kapuna that might need, a little bit more social interaction, just, check them out. There's a lot of emotional labor and burnout going on right now. So similarities between, oh, look at that, I actually did a little graphics there. So similarities between profit and nonprofit jobs. Really the generalized summary is they're all very, very similar. If you think about any for-profit job that is out there in the space, you could probably find a similar nonprofit role as well. Every company has specific needs. Every nonprofit is going to have some similar needs as well. Fundraising, business development, it's a wide range based on size and impact of organizations. You can be doing face-to-face fundraising, you can be doing grant writing, you can be doing philanthropy on the major donor scale, or you can be doing corporate partnerships where you're actually doing business development and looking at partnering with some very large companies to look at national projects. In Australia, we worked hand in hand with a wide variety, and it was on 3-year projects of looking at, how do we, decrease homelessness on a national scale. And you're working with organizations like Ernst & Young and Deloitte, the big banks, as well as other national nonprofits. Administration, there's a variable here from office management to executive assistants. Every nonprofit is going to have these as well. Not every, but a wide range of them will. Marketing and PR, the same as you would see in a for-profit company, you're going to see in the nonprofit world. It's a lot easier to get coverage on nonprofits, though, I will say, than for-profits. I've always worked on the premise that you never pay for any PR and marketing, because once you pay for one, nobody's going to give it to you for free. So there's great roles within that space as well. And it's an incredibly important position in the nonprofit sector to get the messaging out. Programs, I can touch on a little bit about Australian Red Cross here. Massive amounts of programs. You're talking thousands of programs throughout, Australia. Staff managing each one of those with a tiering up, system. So you have regional staff managing, the entire states. These are really what I would call boots on the ground, the ones doing the work face to face, ensuring that, whether it's social services, whether it's handing out meals, whether it's teaching, students in aftercare care, or teaching at-risk youth, or dealing with domestic violence or substance abuse, a wide variety of programs. Same thing in the for-profit sector. You're going to be managing, products, things like that. HR, once again, everybody's got to deal with HR. Everybody's hired. Everybody's, has benefits, all of those types of things. And then you look at the executive team as well. And leadership is needed in every nonprofit. They can range from board members, volunteer leadership, as well as C-suite individuals. And I will say this, is most for-profit businesses have a similar model. Is you have a product or a service, you have margins, and that's what you do. Every nonprofit business model, I would say, is different than every other nonprofit business model, because you're providing a service at a loss. You're basically shaking a tin can to try to provide resources to causes that are different than everyone else. So there are some uniquities there. Excuse me. Difference between for-profit and non-for-profits. Nonprofits work together. You'll see a lot of competition in the for-profit sector, trade secrets, things like that. Here in the nonprofit sector, if we've got an innovation, we're telling everybody about it, because we understand that there's a limited pool of resources that we pull from. So the more impact that we can have with less resources, the more we're going to share that. The terminology you'll hear in this sector quite frequently is, why reinvent the wheel? Let's figure out a way that's been done already. Let's repurpose it for what we're doing, and grow it from there. Next big thing is emotional fulfillment. It's real. It's, I feel incredibly grateful and lucky that I can help my community. A long time ago, I wanted to go into politics. I learned very early on it's tough to get stuff done there. But you can actually make an impact within the social sector. I think that's why it's great that, I am part of Rotary. It's the same type of people. It's people that want to make a difference and feel fulfilled. A lot of times people in Rotary are in the corporate world, and this is how they do it. But if you want to kind of do both, you can always join the nonprofit and continue to being a member of Rotary. There's certainly something new to pop up every day. Even when you think you're kind of in a process that is just very repetitive, there's new fires that pop up every day. And I don't say that in a bad way. I say it as, there's always something new to learn within the nonprofit sector. We're continually hit with different challenges, different opportunities, and amazing things that can happen when you do things for the right reasons. Like I said, we just ended up partnering with an amazing group to be able to bring food security to Maui. Would that have come up if there wasn't COVID? If we didn't have increased shipping costs? If there weren't health issues? Maybe not. But that's, one of the interesting things is that with challenges come new and innovative ideas. Big difference, pay. It's certainly less in the nonprofit sector. Obviously, we do look for other ways to benefit, and that includes benefits, full health insurance, depending on where you're at. But it is something that's a little unfortunate in the sector. And a lot of times, in fact, I had this conversation with a federal representative who actually asked how much money I made. And I told him, and he says, okay, that's good, because we don't want our nonprofit directors making too much money. The money needs to go to programs. I 100% agree with that. We'll look at how we can be as frugal as possible. But I also look on the flip side of the coin and say, well, a banking executive makes 1,000-fold of what a nonprofit director makes. They're managing the same size company. So they're managing 2,800 staff. They're managing, $7 billion in revenue. If you want to retain talent, you do have to pay. So it is something in the sector that I would look at improving, and that includes paying our team more. They deserve to be paid more. So maybe in the long term, as the job sector changes, there's more automation in place. The social services will look at some sort of pay increases across the board. Crossing our fingers. Other ways to get involved in the nonprofit sector. So, there's definitely, an opportunity to work here across the board, whether it's in a local, regional, state, or international organization. But But it's always good to find your passions too. You can volunteer at a lot of organizations. You can go visit and pet some puppies at Maui Humane or with HARF. If you've got an experience or an expertise in marketing or sales or accounting or any of those things, every nonprofit needs those skills. And the more volunteers that they can get, the more impacts that we can actually have within the sector. So volunteer 100%. Read the news, learn about the gaps in society, see what's taking place as well. Right now we've got massive unemployment, we've got massive gaps in childcare and education, got massive gaps in healthcare, affordable housing, all of these types of things specifically here in Maui County. It's different if you look at Molokai, it's different if you look at Lanai, it's different if you look at California. Stay up to date and know what's going on in your community. Donate to your local nonprofits. Every dollar actually does make a big difference. It's our 75th anniversary. If everybody on Maui gave $7.50, we could do amazing amount of work. It really does go a long way, and every nonprofit is entrusted with that. We're federally obliged to be very, very cognizant of keeping everything in line. We do have auditors come in every year to make sure that our finances are in order. So touching a little bit more on Maui United Way, it is 75 years of service to Maui County. I'm very fortunate to be part of this organization. Very fortunate to work at Australian Red Cross and Rancho Coastal Humane Society as well. And even more fortunate to have found a partner in life that, told me to follow my passions and realize that selling advertising or working in that space might not be as fulfilling as being in the nonprofit sector and helping my community and helping our community, in any way that we can. So we're incredibly grateful for the opportunity to connect with you all. Rotary Upcountry is a fantastic group. I live by the motto there, especially the last one of, make sure it's fun. And no matter how much stress is involved, working in the nonprofit sector, because we do feel the pain within the community. It's still fun. We're doing this because we have the passion to help, and that's what the nonprofit sector needs. So if you are interested, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email me at Nicholas, Nicholas at MauiUnitedWay.org, or you can always just visit us on Facebook as well. Drop us a message. We appreciate the time, and aloha.
Thanks, Nick. So it's a good time for questions. You mentioned that in the beginning that there were 39 organizations that you were assisting.
Yep.
Which ones are the most in need?
Every single one of them, plus another 70 probably, in all honesty, Frank. Those are 39 agencies that we're funding for 3 years. We also have another 30 plus agencies that we're funding specifically for COVID. So I think it really just keep an eye out for what your neighborhood needs. Are you seeing people that aren't getting healthy meals? Are you seeing people that might not have a device for their children to learn remotely? Mental health is a big issue right now. If you look at Maui as a whole, the biggest gaps that we're seeing obviously is affordable housing. It's a massive, massive issue here, and there's really no silver bullet to fix it. The next big issue that we're looking at is childcare. So when we open back up tomorrow, hotels go back to work. If you live in Lahaina and you've got a 6-year-old child at home, do you go back to work and work those 2 jobs, or do you stay at home to help teach your child? We're definitely going to be seeing some gaps in that area growing, and is of a concern broadly. But if you would like to support a broad range, that's what we do at Maui United Way. You can tie your dollars to specific organizations, or you can say, hey, I want to help everybody. Or if I want to help a specific sector like education or health, we can do that as well.
Mm-hmm. So how do you decide?
It's up to you. That's the thing. How we decide is it's not even up to us. It's up to the community. We bring in volunteers, a wide range. I believe we had about over 35 this last round that evaluate the applications, which are very, very thorough. They meet with the directors and the program directors and ask very specific questions and get overviews of each program. And then they vote and they score. And not everybody is funded, unfortunately. But the best of the best that do kind of shine do get that funding. So it's never easy to decide, but follow your passion. That's what I say.
I had a text message from Yuki Lei Sukimura.
Mm-hmm.
She said that she already knew who you were. How were you working together with the county?
It's a very, very good question. So Councilmember Sugimura is a fantastic thought leader in this space. We are working with them hand in hand to kind of give that 30,000-foot view of the nonprofit sector. One of the big issues that we were finding is resource lists, believe it or not, is how do you educate the public on what's available, what support's available. There's a lot of time and effort and resources going into building out these resource lists, and they're consistently outdated. So one of the things that we're working with them on specifically is 2-in-1, which is a great singular kind of clearinghouse of all resources. It's a system built that we partner with Aloha United Way that if you dial in, you say you're from Maui, you're automatically put into this big pool of resources that are available, whether that's rental and utility assistance to legal aid if you're looking at eviction. So we are looking at bringing on an additional staff member here in Maui to specifically liaise with our agencies here. And then, of course, we're working with the county in measuring social impacts is another program. And then, of course, working with our partners at Catholic Charities and the County of Maui on the state-run program for rental assistance and how we can help out with that.
Okay. So tell me how the process works. Like, does the state get CARES Act money and then give it to the county, and then the county engages like a business development group, and then the business development group in turn has an agreement with you to do distribution? Is it like 4 different levels?
It all depends. So we actually don't have any funds coming in from CARES Act funding right now. All of our funds are coming in from private foundations and private donors, as well as corporate giving. Partners like Century Insurance, things like that. So I can't really specify, how the CARES Act funding has been spent. It's a big question across the board. But you can, what you said, Frank, is kind of that trickle down of accountability does take place. Some of those funds, allocations are made to the county. The county works with grant partnerships like MEO, and then that creates the Help La Lima program for support in that space. But then you also have the state that says, okay, well, this is an overarching program within the state, being rental assistance. We're going to give the funds directly to nonprofits that are working in that space. So then the state partners with Aloha United Way on Oahu to focus on Oahu. And then they partner with Catholic Charities on the outlying islands. So it's a wide variety. It depends if the state is working on statewide programs or if they're looking at hyper-localized programs that would be have better oversight with Maui County.
One of my prior questions related to what was the top need, and you mentioned affordable housing. Is United Way capable of actually building affordable housing or contracting someone to build affordable housing?
So we work with our partners, and that's what we do. We work with several agencies that specifically look at these needs, and one of them being Habitat for Humanity as one of our partners. So there are agencies out there working on it. Like I said, it's really no silver bullet here. If you're looking at the generalized population pre-COVID in Maui County, 50% plus are falling within what's called ALICE range, which is asset limited, income constrained yet employed, the working poor. You've got multi-generational households living in singular facilities, singular homes, to be able to afford these rents. So it's a big cost of living pay rate issue that's taking place here, in addition to several other factors. So it's once again, it's no singular thing that can take place that would fix this. It's a huge massive layer, and that's what we try to learn, is because we work with different nonprofits that have different focus areas, what role can we play to say, hey, if you all work together, you're going to actually get a better outcome. And that's one of the things that we really look at focusing on.
On the official ballot for voting, there's a referendum item on the second page that relates to increasing the percentage from 2% to 3%, to be able to take money and put it into affordable housing. How do you see that working?
You know, I would have to read more about it. From my initial thoughts, I would say it's great. But because I haven't read in depth on it, we've been nose to the grindstone on dealing with the continuing fires that we're looking at putting out. From what I've read, it seems like a solid plan. But once again, there's no silver bullet. There's no one-stop shop that's going to solve this problem. You know, you look at food security and cost of food. How do we lower that expense? How do we pay our staff more? How do we ensure that there's that balance, because we do live in paradise. We do have people coming here that have rental homes, that have vacation homes. It's a tough balance for sure. But I really don't feel comfortable talking specifically on that, as I'd need to do a lot more digging.
Okay. Well, it's fair enough. When I was in Indiana, I was actually helping out a group called Project Neighbors. And, you know, they were set up as a nonprofit group, and they actually bought the material via donations and actually built what you would kind of call a duplex, where it was a single story, but it was separated by a firewall. So you could have two families living side by side. It would be interesting to actually get a couple of different builders, maybe even Josh Lindsay involved, saying how could we actually make affordable housing possible if we got donations for the material, and then we used you know, members of various Rotary clubs to actually help perform the labor.
I would jump on that. I think Habitat for Humanity or Kahale Akeola, great organizations doing that. But obviously, once again, new factors that are arising, fires on the West Coast, timber expenses increasing by 80%, shipping increasing by 40%. There's all of these different factors that we're trying to take into place here. And it's a very difficult issue overall to even digest. But if 100%, if we could find people that can, you know, donate their time, you know, provide that product, it's a great thing to be able to do that.
What can you say specifically about the COVID related projects?
They're numerous, they're continuing, and it's going to be a continuing uphill battle. Right now, the majority of the calls that are coming in are for rental support. That's the biggest figure right now. There is a moratorium on evictions until the end of the year, which is good news. But once again, what happens then? You know, there's a 4-year plan for our economic recovery. That's how bad this has gotten. Some of the specific programs that we look at are mental health, dealing in that space. We look at the Children's Justice Center, supporting them because there's issues within that space right now. Food security, whether it's at Feed My Sheep or La Akea Village or Common Ground Collective or Grow Some Good. That's another one of the big issues is just food security and putting food on the plates. Maui Food Bank has done an amazing job, and they continue to do an amazing job. And I know Harlan's a big supporter of them for a very, very long period of time. Maui Mediation, another, you know, his wife actually volunteers there, is providing legal counsel between and mediation between landlords and tenants to help facilitate that as well. PPE has been a big support area that we've been able to provide. We actually provide KN95 masks. We've done bulk purchasing through partners on Oahu and the Hawaii Community Foundation to supply that to all nonprofits so they can remain healthy. And then once again, devices and accessibility to remote learning has been another big focus of ours as well.
So give me a round number. How many units of PPE equipment have you actually delivered?
Well, including our partnership earlier this year, which seems like a decade ago, it's well over 20,000 pieces, I would estimate.
20,000. Okay.
Yeah, and that includes our great partnership with Hali'imaile Distillery and our hand sanitizer. We've probably donated well over 100 gallons to the nonprofit sector as well, for staff and client use.
Okay. Well, this has been really informative, and want to really thank you for taking the time to give us an overview of what careers are like in nonprofit, what your goals are, what activities are happening here in Maui. Can you tell us if anyone would like to contact you, how they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can reach us at our office. We actually do pick up. It is area code 808-244-8787, 244-8787, or you can email me at Nicholas, Nicholas, at MauiUnitedWay.org. I know it's a mouthful, but we do respond.
Okay.